Hello everyone, welcome back to the next video. In this video I will show you how to call a network REST API from a control center widget in iOS using React Native. So I'm using React Native 77. We won't be writing any React Native code because it's not possible to create control center widget from JavaScript or TypeScript code. You have to write Swift UI. So we won't be writing any TypeScript code. I have already made one more video on my channel like how to share state between React Native as well as Control Center. So if you're curious, you can watch that video as well. But here it is only for API call. So I have this API. Don't try to use this API because by the time you watch it, I will be deleting this API. But I'm just giving you an example. It can be your own API. So I have this API, and every time I hit this API, it gives me a random number. So if I try to hit it again, here you can see it is giving me 84. So that's how simple it is. So we will be calling this particular API. So first, as usual, I have created a React Native project. So I'll just open that project which I have created using the React Native community CLI, because React Native in it has been deprecated, so you have to use React Native community CLI. So I have created a project using that. Now the next thing, we just have to open the iOS folder inside Xcode. So just go to iOS folder and double click on this .xcode proj file. It will open it inside Xcode for us. So let's just wait for this to finish. Also, one more thing which I want to tell you is from React Native 76, I guess the new architecture is enabled by default, so we don't have to do any major changes as such. Even if you are using the old architecture, this will not really affect anything because we are not writing any uh, like bridging between our TypeScript code or to native code. We are just writing the native code, and the control center widget is its own extension. It's all together, so we don't have to worry about it. So just click on file at the top, new, and select target. Here you have to select iOS and then just search for widget. Here we have widget extension. I'll select it, I'll click on next, and I'll just name it as my RN app widget. You can name it whatever you feel like, but the important thing is you have to check this include control as well as include configuration app intent. You can uncheck this include live activity, that's not really important, and then just click on finish. Now it will show us one more pop-up. Yeah, here we have to click on activate. So here is our widget created. Now first thing which we need to do is write the API service logic. So for that, I'll just right click, new empty file, and I'll just name it as API service. You can name it whatever you feel like, but if you are doing this for the very first time, it's better you follow what I'm doing. Also over here, I'll change it back to RN app or whatever is your project name, so that once I run it, it runs the actual app and not just the extension. Okay, so here first I'll just paste some code. So here I have just pasted some code, so I'll explain it to you. So first we have to import foundation. Then what is the response of my API? It gives me a random number which is of type int. You can change the response to whatever you feel like, whatever is your API response. Then here we have created this class. This is the singleton of this class. Then here is my base URL. Again, don't use my API, it will not work for you. Then here we just fetch a random number and we get the send the API response back. So here we convert our base URL to a proper URL. Then we just do URL session.shared.data, passing our URL to it, and we get data as well as a response. Then here we check whether the status code is 200 or not. So if it is 200, that means it is proper. Then we just decode our response in the form of API response struct which we have created, pass our data to it, and return the decoded response back. So yeah, that's how simple it is. Next, we need to create a custom provider. I will tell you why we are creating this later on. So just right click, new empty file, and name it as my custom provider. Over here I will again copy some code, and here you can see we are extending control value provider. Now the variable name is very important. If suppose your API is returning string data type or boolean data type, you can change the data type here whatever you feel like, but the name is very important. Don't change the variable name. I don't know why but yeah, do keep the variable name as it is. And given that we are extending control value provider, we override this particular value method, sorry, and inside that we just call API service which we have created dot shared to greater singleton, then copy this particular call this particular method fetch random number, and inside that we have this random number value. So that's what we are sending over here. Then I'll just copy this my custom provider. I'll go to our RN app widget control, and here instead of content control configuration, we have to write static uh, control configuration, and here instead of provider we have to write my custom provider. Now at the time of me recording this video, there are only two widgets supported. One is control widget toggle and second one is control widget button. So here I will use control widget button because control widget toggle does not make sense in my case, but in future Apple may decide to add more widgets to control center, but at least at the time of me recording this there are two widgets only. Also, one more thing which I will do is I will okay, anyways, let's come back. Let's not bother. We'll create the control widget button first. So over here I'll just paste this. So here is our control widget button. On click of it we are calling this increment intent, but this will not do anything. It's just that a button requires some kind of an action, so we'll create this Swift file, but the actual value will come from this my custom provider. This value which we are getting, we are displaying it over inside our text element, and this will be the actual random number which I'm getting from my API. Don't get confused with this button action, it's pretty much useless. It's just that I need to add some action to our button, that's why I have created this. So again we'll create a new file for this increment intent, and I will do something like this. Alright, and over here I'll just paste this code. So here we are extending this particular struct from app intent. You can change this title to whatever you feel like, and here we are overriding this perform method which is from app intent, and we are just returning an empty result back. Okay, so don't worry, the some of you might, so whenever we click on our widget, it will automatically call the API with the help of this static control configuration as well as our custom provider. Inherently how it works even I don't know, given that our button just has a dummy click listener, but something like that. Okay, then just now I think that should be it. Now to run it I'll just do yarn iOS, and now once the setup is ready I'll come back and show you guys the output. Hopefully it will work. Alright, so I have my app running, and I'll just dismiss this app. I will just scroll this down. I'll click on this plus button over here. I'll click on add a control, and here you will have this RN app or whatever is your React Native project name. I'll just select this control center widget. I'll just drag it a little, and here you can see value is 99. Now this particular value is coming from our API. Now if I click on this control center, the value will get updated: 14, 81, 97, 76. So hopefully you got the point. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.